In today's video, we'll follow the story of the level 200 Sword King, who died and will be resurrected in a rejuvenated body, aiming to reach the top just like in his past life. However, let's start from the very beginning. The world where he lived was destroyed. People had to fight monsters just to survive. He also lived his entire life this way, defeating a monster and wiping the sweat from his face, staying that way for a day, for a whole month, and slaying another monster, repeating the process for another year. Suddenly, 10 years had passed ridiculously quickly, and with a sword, he cut down any monster without fear until a humanoid monster appeared in front of him, telling that human to give up, because the world he lived in had already been destroyed. The commander, behind all this chaos, saying that his resistance is a waste and he should become his sword. However, the boy shouted that this was meaningless, advancing with his sword toward the creature and preparing to cut it from top to bottom. The monster tries to punch him, but the boy dodges, managing to injure the creature's fingers. The demon turns to face the human as he prepares to slash it once more, until another fist flies towards its face, trying to hit him while the boy just dodges. That monster says that no matter how hard he tries, he is still an insect in front of him, trying to throw several punches, but the boy dodges until he is hit in the chest. He jumps back, maintaining his balance, then advancing again in search of victory. As he prepares to slash the demon, the creature raises its hand to attack him too, throwing the human to the ground as if he were a mosquito. The human remains standing after that, refusing to fall in front of the demonic creature until he notices something different about the necklace around his neck. The boy decides he will aim there, preparing his sword and thus lunging at the creature quickly. The blow hits the monster while the boy is also hit by its hand. But above his head, the demon's necklace had been destroyed. The creature curses that human, calling him a bastard, while the boy remains standing, watching the demon's necklace being broken. The creature agonizes, denying that fact, but is destroyed by the energy in the end. The boy lies on the ground with his face covered in blood, with his hand on his head, resting. He looks up at the sky one last time, saying it was a magnificent sight. A person in flip-flops walks through arid streets, the boy with messy black hair, white clothes, and a backpack on his back. An alarm sounds immediately after that, asking the hero to scan his registration number and unique identification, with a sign behind it warning that it is a rank B portal with public access prohibited, and the general public who are not heroes should reconsider entering. The boy stands in front of Yongsan-gu, the special city of Seoul, so he prepares his leg, causing a burst of dust. The alarm warns that an unregistered hero has forced open the gate. He stares at that place with his brown eyes. Since now there was a forest, the boy begins to walk forward, but someone catches his attention, asking if he got lost on the way. He doesn't know what kind of situation it was, but they were leaving at that moment, so the boy should follow them. He just watches the people without answering. A girl whispers about his clothes, and her friend replies that he really didn't look like a hero. Although porter clothes are cheap these days, that kind of outfit, and asks what was up with that backpack, wondering if he wasn't just a porter who was abandoned with the heroes who came with him, but they soon dismiss that hypothesis. The boy says he understands what he was talking about, and just went in there. One man comments that he said the man had been abandoned, and his colleague replies that he has seen many people like him and can guess what he was thinking when he entered the gate, trying to hunt based on what he saw on the internet or on TV, was asking for trouble. And first, he should have had an appropriate hero license since it was a sea-level portal. The young man replies that he appreciates his advice, but he wasn't particularly grateful, surprising the heroes upon hearing this, while they say he was a kind of bastard, but the leader to them, while the heroes complain about having stopped him. Their leader tells them to forget about it, as he was the type to ignore warnings like that and had no choice but to experience it firsthand. The gate was completely different from what he saw on TV or the internet as an orc appears in front of him. The boy says it's a waste of space. The creature recognizes the intention of the sword, advancing to attack the boy while he calmly takes out his backpack and closes his eyes. He dodges the orc's punch with ease, and saying something about 10 years causing an explosion in that area. The creature is merely surprised as the man runs forward, ready to throw a punch destroying the monster's head, and so landing on the ground, the boy looks ahead calmly. saying that it really wasn't any different after all. The creature dissolves in front of the boy, so he just extends his hand holding the sword that once belonged to the orc. He stares at it silently, pointing it at the monster's core, and thus destroying it. The boy thrusts his sword, revealing a sparkling stone he removed from inside a basic level magic stone. And he says that in the past, he wouldn't have even looked at these inferiors, so he puts the crystal in his backpack. The boy looks to the side when he feels a tremor. Other orcs were approaching from there, roaring as they try to attack him with their blades. He just dodges by moving down, grasping the crystal more tightly, and thus throwing it at the head of one of the orcs. The body falls to the ground while his partner advances. The creatures try to attack him before he can react, and the boy just watches. The team from before was passing by, so the red-haired girl asks about the rude man from before, and if he would lose his life easily. While her colleague questions whether she was worried, the leader explains that if he is an unauthorized intruder, agents from the control center would be coming. This place, the Namsen portal, was level C, so elite agents at level B or higher would be sent if he's not crazy and attacks the monsters first. He won't lose his life, so there's nothing to worry about. And the older one says he was right, because that rude bastard was probably shaking now and should just wait for the agents to come and save him. However, an orc trembles with fear being hit by the boy's fist. The other creature tries to attack him from behind, but its blade only hits the ground. The creature turns back fearfully, only to find the boy ready to kick him, throwing it down and deforming its head with a kick. Both orcs remain defeated on the ground as the boy prepares to attack, saying he has 3 more stones. The day passes after that. The boy's backpack was now full. He thinks this place was bad, but he got 12 low-grade stones and 16 medium-grade stones, but an agent was behind him and calls the boy to go that way. 4 agents stand in front of the boy. One of them introduces himself as a member of the Portal Control Center and tells him to show his hero registration. But if he doesn't have it, he must go to the control center. The boy just repeats about this center, and the angry agent asks him to follow his instructions. Like a beast, the swordsman stares, saying that this was annoying. The agent who spoke tells his blonde colleague to get the handcuffs and talks about cooperation, saying that if he refuses to follow instructions, they should apply physical pressure, grabbing the swordsman's wrist and saying that if he resists, resulting in any physical damage, it would be his responsibility, and they should go to the control center to resolve this quickly. But the swordsman just turns the blonde man's wrist, causing him to tremble in surprise at the strength, so the young man tells him to stop being annoying and come back. The agents draw a weapon from their suits, emanating electricity from that equipment, a 4th-degree magical sealing device, which should work on orcs or something. So the swordsman twists the blonde agent's wrist, saying that this was the final warning. They should leave if they don't want to get hurt even more. The agents advance against the boy, but he holds both magical devices with his hands. One of them tries to kick him, but misses again, so the swordsman prepares his leg, kicking the agent in the ribs. The man flies away with the blow, while the swordsman kicks the other agent in the stomach. The agent with glasses watches this in fear. Then he mutters something quickly, a little scared. The boy just turns to him, disappearing in a matter of seconds. Paranoid, the agent wonders if he really disappeared, but the boy punches him in the stomach. The agent recoils backwards, while the boy gets his attention, asking if registered heroes don't have any problems, and the agent affirms, saying that if they don't commit any illegal acts inside the gate, there's no reason for agents to come. However, the swordsman asks about the fracture zones, the passages to another world where strange monsters appear around the world, and thus they obtained energy resources from hunting, and that is why the state controls them. But an unknown space that has not yet turned into a gate is still called a fracture zone. The swordsman asks if no matter how many portals he went through, those agents would continue to watch him, talking about an authorized entry or something like that. The agent says yes, and that was correct, because the central office is notified when someone unregistered enters there, and agents are dispatched, but the fracture zones cannot be easily entered as portals, and even the Association of Heroes cannot stand against them. The boy asks what he should do, while the agent reflects on him being a crazy bastard because he should have reported to headquarters from the beginning. He is then thrown away. The boy throws the agent with the greatest of ease, thinking that he was nothing special. That agent calls the boy a bastard, saying he would definitely take his life. The Demon King's crystal had broken. He denied that fact until his last moment, hearing his voice close to a scream. He lost consciousness, feeling as if he were being sucked in by something like that, thinking that this was losing his life. And that's what he thought. His eyes were closed for a few moments, opening them again shortly after. The boy was in a kind of inverted sky. A boy was in front of him, and the swordsman asked who he was. That boy introduced himself as Seo Dojun, and he was losing his life, and if he listened to his request, he would quietly disappear that way. However, the swordsman refuses. Seo Dojun is speechless. The swordsman says he has nothing left to live for, as he fought for 10 years and was betrayed by everyone he trusted, and even his family and friends lost their lives, wondering what the point of life is. Because he was also in that situation, Seo Dojun replies that if his life were like that, he hoped his grandmother and Yun Young would not have to live that way. The swordsman just sighs, wondering if that was all, telling him to calmly say what his wish was. Seo Dojun begins to speak. And so, in the special city of Seoul, in the Gansan Digital Complex in Gumshan-gu called the Heroes Complex, to sum it up, where there are more portal byproducts than companies. The boy walks through those streets and enters a store, saying that it must be that place. An attendant with a tattoo on his arm welcomes him. Seo Dojun says he would like to sell magic stones, and the man tells him he has come to the right place, as they sell at the highest prices in South Korea. So, the boy just dumps the orc stones on the table. The clerk is surprised, thinking that he should at least remove the blood before bringing them there. So he asks for a moment to organize the magic stones. He asks if the young man would like some coffee while he waits, and Seo Dojun replies that anything is fine. The young man waits while drinking coffee on the sofa. The clerk tells him that he has 12 low-grade crystals, 16 medical-grade crystals, and 5 high-grade crystals, and that he should know that the commission fee is 40% of the purchase price. So the total he would receive was 5,460,000 won. But Seo Dojun tells him to stop, asking about the 40% commission if they only hunted there. The attendant says he doesn't know much, because they usually take a 45% fee, and we're only doing this one time, but if he doesn't want to sell, he should return the stones, since he wouldn't get a better price than them. And so Seo Dojun starts to do so. The attendant grabs his hand and pins him to the table, saying that he should pay the sales fee because the coffee wasn't free, and it was 300,000 won for the labor fee and 10,000 won for the coffee. But since he didn't seem to have much to bleed, if he gave 350,000 including the cost of towels, but the young man replied that he had no money. The attendant says he should pay, as some C-grade heroes were after him, and calls him a bastard. Those heroes come out of a Dorota. Man with a scar on his eye asks why he called them and who was causing trouble again. Seo Dojun just stares at him fiercely, and the hunter does the same thing. The attendant trembles with fear as the scarred hunter is thrown towards him. Seo Dojun had only thrown one punch, thus defeating those 3 hunters. The young man slowly walks forward, saying that the commission was 1% and they would have legal business from now on because he would come back next time. A sum of money falls under his desk. His grandmother and Yun Young are impressed by this. The woman asks what kind of money it was. Seo Dojun says that he borrowed some money from a friend doing company work before and became really successful. His grandmother questions whether he even has a friend, and the boy says that where he grew up, he had a friend he needed to pay back. His grandmother looks at the money somewhat apprehensively while Yun Young asks her Appa if they are rich now. He says yes from now on while caressing his sister's head. The girl jumps around the room, repeating that they are rich now. Seo Dojun just watches quietly, thinking about the wish of his former self, who asked his grandmother and Yun Young to live in the safest house possible. And then he disappeared without even waiting for an answer, looking toward a mirror. When the swordsman woke up, he became Seo Dojun. The safest house in Korea costs 11 billion won at the current market price and has no obligation to keep a unilateral promise. But if his strength returned, that money was nothing. Fractures, gates, monsters, everything in this place was weaker than his destroyed world for him. Who was the god of the sword? This place was like child's play. However, not even 10% of his power had returned yet. A voice from outside asks if Seo Dojun is there. He gets up, saying he would check outside and that his grandmother should stay inside, thus opening the door to his house. He comes face to face with 2 guys, one big and one small and blonde. The big one asks if Doogian would pay his money back sometime, and the blonde one asks if he knows how much money he needs. which is 48 million won these sharks who were asking for money from the real Seo Do-gyeon before he lost his life. 5 million won from his grandmother's hospital account turned into 10 times that amount in a short time. The big guy says he went to the portal and made some money and should hand it over, while the blonde guy says it was all in the contract so as not to feel so wrong. While Seo Do-jun advances his fist, hitting the big man in the face and throwing him away, the blonde just watches this. A little scared, wondering what that was, Seo Do-jun says that the money paid was between 9 million won, but he wanted to receive cash instead. The blonde man questions whether he really was Seo Do-jun, but the young man tells him to tell his boss that he would visit soon, preparing his fist and thus sending the man away in the middle of a shopping mall in Seoul. There was a store with several teddy bears. Yu Young asks if she can really buy a new doll Seo. Do-jun confirms that since they bought clothes, they could now give her what she wanted. Sharing memories with her former self changed her emotions as well. It was just sympathy for now. But Seo Do-jun was kind to the girl, who is his half-sister from a different father. At least he would protect that heart. The girl grabs a rabbit stuffed animal and wonders if she could take it. That stuffed animal was slim and small, but Seo Do-jun grabs the biggest. One of them all saying that he would really buy anything she wants. The girl scratches her head. They go to get something to eat. The little girl eats a hamburger calmly, but someone actually recognizes Seo Do-jun. It was a fat woman who appears in front of him. She asks what's wrong with him, because dressed like that, he really doesn't look like anything, and questions who that person next to him is if it was an accident like his mother's, making Seo Do-jun angry. The boy just stares at that woman and her guards angrily. While Eun Young wonders who this woman is, Seo Do-jun remains silent. Listening to this, the woman continues to smile as she looks at them. Eun Young was still confused about what had happened. So, the fat woman asks her name, and the little girl introduces herself, saying that the way she was dressed, she was poor just like her mother, and if Seo Do-jun agreed with her but with no response, she asks if he has gone mute, getting angry when he didn't answer, calling Eun Young a brat and asking if she understands. What prostitute means, as Seo Do-jun gets even more irritated when he hears this, saying she was ugly like an ogre. The woman turns around, confused. So the boy just stares fiercely. Seo Do-jun was born as an illegitimate child and lived in poverty. His mother left when he was 7, and he barely managed to go to his biological father's house. He lived for 10 years amid discrimination and contempt, and his father's legitimate wife gave birth to a son, leaving him aside until he was expelled and forced to live with his maternal grandmother and a half-sister he had never seen before. The swordsman wonders what kind of heart Seo Do-jun had to endure all this time, but it would be different now, saying that they lived together for 12 years, but his sister is still repulsive with an ugly appearance and horrible personality too. Besides being so stupid that she can't even study, someone like her has a terrible inferiority complex with any woman who is more beautiful and kinder than her, who has nothing, and this child who considers her appa's financial situation. Thus, staring at the fat woman with hatred on her face, the woman gets angry and asks what he said. But another woman approaches, saying she hasn't seen Do-jun in a while, so the younger woman runs to the other one, calling her mother, and asks if she knew what that bastard said to her. But her mother tells her to stop, just staying quiet and wanting to know what kind of foolish behavior this was. Then she asks if Do-jun is okay. Because even if he is busy, it would be great if he came home from time to time. But Do-jun thinks she is a fake because she tormented him for 12 years. His mother says that his father cared a lot about him, but the boy replies that it disgusts him since they are not close enough to ask each other such things. He tells that woman to get out of his face. She looked at him angrily, but she just accepts it and turns to leave, wondering if he really is the Seo Do-jun she knows, because he lowers his head even when he gets slapped, for no reason. The girl runs to catch up with her mother, telling her to go together, while Do-jun prepares to stay with his sister again, saying that they are also leaving, reflecting that Seo Do-jun, who can't say a word and just looks down, no longer exists, and it would be good to act this way whenever possible, driving a luxury car back home. The girl asks why her mother just left when she should have hit that bastard, and if she knew what he said to her, but her mother just calls manager Lee, wanting to know why Do-jun was still alive. The man replies that according to the report, Kang Cheol-woo definitely left him at the gate and came back. The woman screams that that's exactly what happened, but asks why someone who should be dead was standing in front of her. Manager Lee says he's sorry and would look again. But the girl questions whether he should be dead and what that means. The woman just stares ahead coldly, while her daughter screams, wanting to know what this could be and what was going on, and if she tried to take Dojun's life. Her mother asks if she still likes him. The red-haired girl says no. And if her grandfather or father find out, but her mother grabs her mouth saying it was something she would deal with, so her daughter should mind her own business. The girl trembles in fear of her mother. Thinking he was bold for 10 years ago, the fracture zones appeared and monsters came out of them to take people's lives. The world experienced extreme chaos, but with the appearance of heroes, the chaos subsided and magic stones are extracted from the monsters. The magic stones became the new source of energy, and countries around the world put their efforts into turning fractures into portals, thus involving industries. In other words, in this world, making money meant becoming a hero, so he goes to the CHC headquarters in Yeongdeungpo walking toward the location. That quiet place has its door open. A host was smoking his cigarette while his subordinate asks what this bastard was doing there, and if he defeated his subordinates and shamelessly went there. Seo Dojun just replies that no matter how you look at it, it would be a defeat, and the boss asks what the defeat would be. The young man replies that he should receive mental, physical, and material compensation for the damage suffered by his subordinates, while the boss just realizes that his gentle personality has also changed, seeing how he destroyed his employees, and surely this guy woke up at the portal. So he says that the way he was acting, he must think that something has changed after awakening. So 3 men enter that place, both look at Seo Dojun out of the corner of their eyes, while the boss picks up his coat and says that he acts so confident after awakening. But he was a D-rank trash at the end, and there are several people below him who kick D-ranks with their big mouths. Dojun just looks at him silently, telling him to sit down once. Again, because he wasn't done talking yet, the subordinate with glasses steps up to him saying that a young delinquent was talking like that, but his glasses are knocked off his face, being hit by a punch from Dojun and thrown away. With just that, the other guy is hit in the face, while Dojun comments that they don't just do loan sharking since he knows they also forge identities, so he needs to become a hero to get money. From now on, dodging a punch from one of the subordinates and hitting one in the chest in the sequence, the boy had knocked down all the hunters with ease, telling the boss to make a perfect ID without any problems from now on. With the deadline being tomorrow, the subordinates are shocked to hear about this, while the boss thinks about what this power was since it wasn't D or C level. Wondering if this bastard was B level, Dojun questions him about not having an answer, and the man replies that he would do it. Then the boy touches his shoulder and says he would too, wants to know if Hong Hee-ju told him to take his life. The boss just thinks about the woman, but there is no answer, and Dojun tightens his grip, causing the man to scream in pain, screaming that this woman Hong Hee-ju said that she told him to pay with his debt, and end up taking his own life, repeating that the woman said that and should let him go. Dojun asks if that's why she locked him in the gate, while the boss replies that he doesn't know about that, and it was really true, and if he had lost his life, he wouldn't get his money, so there was no way to send him to the gate. And it was true. Dojun thinks for a few seconds, saying Kang Cheol-woo's name because he took him to that gate, and the boss should bring information about him tomorrow as well, so he leaves through the front door while his subordinate greets him. The boy thinks about it as the wind blows in his face. That request from the old Dojun was something he found lonely, but while he was there in that body, he would leave everything in order with a B-rank hero identity in his hand. The boy passes through one of the scanners, gaining access to enter as soon as your registration is confirmed as below the recommended grade, but it would be dangerous, and he should think carefully before entering. And Dojun complains that that bastard boss should have given him an A rank, so entering the chamber even with warnings of below the recommended grade. The Bamsum portal, which had a B rank and D scale, where the recommended level was A and no more than 2 people could enter a B rank portal, but D scale made it difficult to do alone. And even so, it had a format that allowed for solo adventuring, making it difficult to clear unless you were at least A rank. If he is really unlucky, Dojun smiles. He would come face to face with hundreds of monsters alone in the dark, in a narrow tunnel, encountering a monster snake. Dojun transforms his hand and says he likes it. The snake prepares to bite the boy, but it is easily cut by the hunter, while his colleague tries to strike in the same way. A black death cobra was a snake whose venom causes paralysis, with just one bite landing on the ground after cutting the creatures and doing the same to others in a matter of seconds. breaking another snake in half. The boy sighs a little, because his arm has been hit by the green liquid, saying that it is worth about 300,000 won. He then shifts his gaze to his back with several snakes also wanting to strike. The boy just cuts them with his fingers, removing the snake's fangs with his gloves and making their blood fly through the air. The boy remained standing after that, complaining that there were no magic stones, and it was the same as in the previous world, where the probability of getting a magic stone from these black snakes was 3%, so he needs to take the lives of a few hundred more. Entering another area of the gate with some skeleton bodies already melted, Dujun repeats a step facing a snake larger than the others, and wondering if it was the boss there because he doesn't know if this was the way, but it would work well. However, his glove is repelled even though he hit the snake only its armor had been thinking. He would finish quickly in return, and he advances toward the snake being repelled away with the monster using its tail. Dujun was just on the damaged wall as the snake advances for another pounce. The boy just dodges by jumping back, but steps firmly on the ground, advancing to deliver another punch to the monster, hitting a purple surface with all his strength. The boy noticed something strange, wondering if the attacks weren't working on that snake, which was to be expected, since it was on a different level from the ones he had seen before, and the surface was hard. Thinking that if he had regained his strength, he could do something different, but he noticed something different on his foot, for there was a sword stuck there. The boy looks with the corner of his eye, then closes it, saying that even though he was old, he had no choice, since no matter how old the sword was, it only depended on who used it. So he pulls the blade out of the ground and saying he would borrow it for a moment. Leaving the ground in another advance, the boy flies over that snake, saying that it was to be considered an honor that he would personally smash it to pieces, holding the hilt of the sword with the back of his hand. The snake lunges to try its own attack, colliding with Dojin and causing an explosion of light as a result of those perfect cuts. The boy takes a deep breath after that, saying that he would be in big trouble if he didn't get this right. And so he looks at the body of the snake boss, draining its blood and taking a fang, commenting that it would be too short for a long sword, but if polished, it would be usable. His gains were better than Namsan's, and he was very lucky, but he thinks it took too long to complete a B rank. Gate regaining his strength was the highest priority. He was sure that his former companions couldn't see him that way. Cat Mascot was in front of a store, while a man counted his jewelry. The clerk comments that he collected good magic stones and the commission rate was normally 40%. That adventurer asks if it wasn't too expensive, as he was a regular customer and wanted a discount. However, the clerk says that his fee was the cheapest and the basic fee for a gate center alone was 5%. But they cannot maintain transactions without paying these fees, getting everything. He can make clear deals, and with that level of commission, it was profitable. The adventurer counts the money, saying that everything was fine, but he wants to know why the attendant's face was injured like that. He replies not to talk about it, as a crazy bastard went there and defeated his guards and did that to him. The adventurer says he has very complacent C-rank guards, and that's why he said to get better guards. Since ranks are made by the government, a guard who just manages the store and a hero who risks his life to hunt monsters don't have the same level of skill, and the clerk thinks he should leave. So the man says that they've known each other for more than a day or two, so he should contact him if he needs help. Bumping into someone while leaving, Dujun had entered that store. The clerk panics when he sees this, saying that he was the one who did that to him. The adventurer asks about this guy because he was tall and handsome, but he caused a commotion there, clenching his fists while asking if he caused that mess and what was the point of a hero hurting innocent people if he doesn't know that heroes don't touch people. The clerk reflects that he was a 7-year veteran and knows many senior and junior heroes, but Dojin just tells him to mind his own business and get lost, leaving the hero angry. The attendant smiles. Dujun asks if he wants revenge instead, as the man clenches his fists, thinking that the number one cause of heroes' deaths was not monsters, but accidental fights with fellow heroes, so he complains that they would meet next time and that he was busy this time. Leaving the store, Dujin just looks at the clerk with his peripheral vision, saying that it seems like he has a lot of conversations about him, and then throws a bag full of jewelry. He tells him to calculate the entire amount. The clerk wonders about all these high-grade magic stones and who this guy is. He does some calculations on his calculator and saying that the total was 150 million won. The young man thinks he hunted all day and that was it, telling him to give him the 150 million. That clerk complains that they need to deduct the commission, thinking he said something wrong. Dujun sighs, saying that there was a 1% fee and it was 148.5 million won. The clerk thinks about saying that the fee was 40%, but warns that for transactions over 100 million won, they need permission from their superior superiors, Do-jun tells him to get the permission now, so the clerk tells his boss everything that happened while the young man snatches the phone from his hand, saying that he understands and wants all the money right now. The boss understands, for now, and tells him to change his team. Again, Do-jun throws the attendant's cell phone against the wall and says that his superiors understand what he says and tell him to bring the money. The young man accepts and hands over the bills. Do-jun says they should do better business next time, and the clerk thinks that would be fine as long as it's called legal business. 10 minutes later at that same store, the superior asks why he didn't answer the phone and what that call was about earlier, while the clerk complains that he really wants to quit this job because he can't do it anymore. His boss just stares at his subordinate while the clerk hears the ringing. The boss calls for a girl named Ju Yan, asking her to come over, while a woman with purple hair walks through the city as the woman walks down the street. More conversations are heard. People ask if it was really Hyun Ju Yan. The woman finally arrives at her store. The clerk welcomes her, but is surprised to see Miss Hyun Ju Yan. The woman introduces herself, saying that he was correct, while the clerk thinks she was South Korea's 4th S-grade hero and heard that she was the boss's niece. He wants to know why she was there. The woman walks away saying that because of the heroes who were forcing these prices on magic stones. Her uncle was having a headache and asks if she can hear the details in a larger house. Eun-young plays with her stuffed animals and her brother meditates. Do-jun tries to focus his mind, even hunting every day. A mere 100 million was still too slow at this point. He needs to hunt S-rank portals as soon as possible. And for that, the important thing was to gain his past power. But unlike his old world, the atmosphere has little mana, so it should take 3 years of training every day like this. However, he denies it, saying it would take too long. It would be good to have good weapons and equipment, but in this place, even junk costs hundreds of millions of coins. Do-jun suddenly looks at the ground as he runs towards Eun-young, grabbing the girl and saying she needs to go inside, and leaves his sister there. The grandmother asks what was wrong, but a tremor hits their house. The girls scream about the earthquake. Do-jun notices that it's not an earthquake, and it was probably a purple energy takes over the sky, spreading throughout that area of the house and becoming a fracture. The grandmother asks what was happening, and the boy replies that it was dangerous and she should not leave the room, going to the fracture and hitting his hand at the Hero Association in the special city of Seoul. Person informs his team leader that a new fracture has been detected in Mapo, and it was a new fracture after 63 days. If it was in Mapo, the White Lion Guild was nearby, so they could contact them immediately and send the nearby heroes right away, asking where the detected fracture was located. His subordinate replied that it was in the backyard of a residential house. The boss repeats about the house because it would be a problem, since if a civilian who is not a hero enters the fracture, it would be impossible to get them out of there, and if they lose their life, the wave of monsters that occurs for 10 days in the fracture zone could wipe out all of Seoul. Asking if the identity of the person who entered has been identified, his subordinate replies that it was Seo Do-jun, who lives in the fracture zone and whose grandmother's land was there. He entered the zone trying to save his sister, so the possibility of monster waves occurring when civilians enter was high. The probability is 99%. The agents are discouraged upon hearing this. A piece of paper hits Hong Hee-ju's desk. She repeats about awakening and what he meant by Do-jun awakening. Manager Lee replies that he hasn't registered yet, but he definitely awakened at the gate last time. Hong Hee-ju yells about what the hell that idiot Kang Chil-woo did, because he should have taken that bastard's life directly. And this only complicates things, but he still took money from her. So she tells Manager Lee to tell that idiot directly that if he doesn't take Do-jun's life, he must pay back 10 times more than he received. The video ends here. If you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe.